You would be amazed at how much can change in 3 months when you finally decide to stop running from your life and start building it. 90 days doesn't sound like much. It's not a year, it's not a decade. But when you use each day with intention, consistency, and clarity, 3 months becomes the most powerful reset button you've ever had. And today, that reset begins with you. Most people live the same 90 days over and over again and call it a life. They wake up tired. They react instead of plan. They consume instead of create. They hope something changes, but they never change themselves. And then they wonder why nothing in their world looks different. But here's the truth that will follow us through this entire journey. Your life is not shaped by the big moments you're waiting for. It is shaped by the hours you commit to every single day. 3 months is long enough to transform, but short enough to stay focused. You don't need to overhaul everything at once. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need motivation that burns hot for a week and disappears. What you need is structure. 1 hour, 1 habit, 1 decision, repeated daily until the person you're becoming is stronger than the person you used to be. This audiobook is not here to entertain you. It's here to train you. It's here to give you a system you can follow. Simple, clear, and brutally honest. Because your next 90 days will not be built from inspiration. They will be built from discipline, clarity, progress, and confidence. These 4 pillars will hold everything together. Discipline is the engine. It's the part of you that shows up when your feelings don't. It carries you through early mornings, long days, and the moments when quitting feels easier. Clarity is the compass. Without it, every hour gets stolen by distractions, noise, and excuses. Progress is the proof. Even the smallest wins create momentum, showing you that change is not just possible. It's already happening. And confidence is the reward. True confidence doesn't come from hype. It comes from keeping promises to yourself. So here's the challenge. For the next 90 days, give yourself 1 hour every single day. 1 hour where you are unreachable. 1 hour dedicated to building a skill, improving your body, studying your mind, upgrading your habits, or eliminating the patterns that have held you back for years. If you can do that, just 1 focused hour, you will feel the shift long before the 90-day mark. You will think differently. You will move differently. You will choose differently. And those choices will build a future you didn't think you were capable of. Imagine waking up 3 months from now with more energy, more control, more mental clarity, and more self-respect than you've had in years. Imagine being able to point to actual proof. Habits you kept, projects you finished, skills you gained, decisions you finally made. This is not a fantasy. It is the inevitable result of consistent action. In this audiobook, we will break down the 10 core habits that shape a powerful 90-day transformation. Each chapter is 1 building block, 1 piece of the structure you're about to create. Some will challenge you, some will push you, some will force you to look at your excuses and replace them with action. But every single one is designed to make you stronger, clearer, and more disciplined than you were yesterday. You don't need to be perfect for 90 days. You just need to commit. You need to give yourself permission to try again, to keep going, to show up even on the days when nothing feels different. Transformation doesn't happen with intensity. It happens with consistency. And these next 90 days will prove that to you. So take a breath. Settle in. This is the beginning of your reset. You're not here to repeat the past. You're here to build a future. And that future starts with a single choice. A choice you're making right now. Give yourself 3 months and watch everything change. Chapter 1. The 4% Rule. 1 hour a day changes everything. Most people overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can transform in 90 days. That's because they chase intensity instead of consistency. They wait for perfect motivation, perfect timing, perfect alignment. And while they wait, their life stays exactly the same. If you want these next 3 months to truly change everything, you must understand one rule, the 4% rule. 4% of your day is 1 hour, just one. But that 1 hour, used with clarity and purpose, is enough to tilt the entire direction of your life. When people hear 3 months to change everything, they imagine dramatic overhauls, extreme routines, or giant sacrifices. None of that is necessary. What changes you is not the size of the effort. It's the daily repetition of a small, intentional one. For 90 days, your job is simple. Guard 1 hour like your life depends on it. Because it does. Every successful transformation, mental, physical, emotional, financial, begins with a protected window of time where you build yourself without interruption. 1 hour where the world does not get to decide who you are. 1 hour where distractions don't win. 1 hour where you stop reacting and start creating. Think about your life up until now. How many hours have you given away to scrolling, stress, noise, and obligations that didn't matter? How many days have slipped through your fingers because you never claimed a small fraction of them for yourself? That ends here. The next 90 days are about reclaiming your time and using it intentionally. You don't need a new personality. You don't need more willpower. You need a system. This chapter gives you that system. It begins with a mindset shift. Your hour is non-negotiable. You don't move it. You don't shrink it. You don't trade it for something urgent. You treat it like oxygen, something you need to function at your highest level. When you lock this in, the rest of the journey becomes easier. So what exactly happens inside this 1 hour? The answer depends on what you want to transform, but the principle stays the same. The hour must be designed to build, not consume. Consumption comforts you. Building changes you. Most people confuse the two and wonder why they never grow. In your hour, you do what strengthens your body, sharpens your mind, or elevates your future. Maybe this hour is where you work out. Maybe it's where you learn a new skill. Maybe it's where you write, study, build, train, or solve a problem you've avoided for years. The specifics will change depending on your goals, but the architecture stays the same. One intention plus 1 hour plus one standard repeated daily. Let's break this down. You start your hour by eliminating noise. Airplane mode, notifications off, door closed, environment cleaned. The moment you step into this hour, you step into a different identity, the version of you who shows up with standards instead of excuses. This is your practice zone, your upgrade zone. When you honor this hour, you tell your mind, I take myself seriously. Next, you choose one priority, not 10, not 5, not a long list you'll never complete. 1. Because focus is power. A focused hour is worth more than an entire distracted day. So you choose the action that moves your life forward, not the one that feels easiest, but the one that makes tomorrow better than today. Then you commit fully. No stopping halfway, no multitasking, no jumping between tasks. You go deep. You let yourself become absorbed in the work. This is where momentum is built. People who transform fast aren't more talented. They're simply more focused. They learn to become unavailable to the things that drain them and fully present for the things that strengthen them. Some days, the hour will feel effortless. Other days, it will feel like a battle. That's normal. Discipline isn't comfortable, it's corrective. It reshapes your patterns, your cravings, your instincts. When your mind fights back, that's not a sign you're failing, it's a sign you're changing. This hour teaches you how to override old habits with intention. Over time, something powerful happens. The hour becomes your anchor. It grounds you when life gets chaotic. It centers you when emotions run wild. It stabilizes your mindset when everything else feels uncertain. You begin to trust yourself again. That trust becomes confidence, and confidence becomes fuel. But here is the most important part. the results of this hour will not appear immediately. That's where most people quit. They work for 7 days, don't see a miracle, and assume nothing is happening. But transformation has always been quiet at first. The roots grow before the tree does. Change begins below the surface, inside your discipline, inside your identity. And then, one day, the results break through. This is why the 4% rule matters. It guarantees progress even when your feelings are unpredictable. It protects your direction. It keeps you from drifting. When you commit to 1 hour every day for 90 days, you make more progress than most people make in 3 years. Not because you worked harder, but because you worked consistently. The hour also rewires your self-image. Every time you show up, you send a message to your brain, I follow through. That message compounds. Your confidence rises, your standards rise. You stop negotiating with your weaknesses. You begin to move through the world with a sense of personal gravity, an inner strength that doesn't depend on motivation. By the time you finish the 90 days, the hour will no longer be a challenge. It will be a lifestyle. It will be the most valuable appointment on your calendar. And it will be the reason you change so much in such a short time. But none of that can begin until you make a simple choice. The hour belongs to you. Every day, without excuse. So let me ask you, if 1 hour can change everything, why not claim it today? Why not use it to build the life you've been postponing? Why not commit to a system that guarantees growth instead of waiting for circumstances to magically improve? 90 days from now, you will look back at this moment as the point where everything shifted. Not because you made a dramatic decision, but because you made a consistent one. You chose to give yourself an hour, and that 1 hour became the difference. Start tracking it, protect it, respect it, use it with purpose. Because your future self is built in the hour you commit to today. And today, that hour begins. Chapter 2. Win the morning to win the next 90 days. If the first hour of your day is chaotic, the rest of your day will follow the same script. Clarity does not come from the middle of the day when your energy is scattered and your attention is already stolen. It comes from the beginning, from the first few choices you make before the world gets a chance to interfere. That is why the fastest way to change your next 3 months is to win your mornings. When you win the morning, you build the momentum, the structure, and the discipline that carry you through every hour that follows. Most people wake up and immediately hand their day to their phone. They check notifications, scroll endlessly, read messages that trigger stress, dive into other people's priorities before touching their own. By the time they actually start their morning, they're already drained, distracted, and behind. They haven't taken a single moment to breathe, to think, to prepare, or to choose who they want to be today. And that one mistake, making the world louder than your mind, ruins the entire day before it even begins. Winning the morning is not about waking up at 4 a.m. or joining some extreme routine that doesn't fit your life. It is about making the first 20 to 40 minutes yours, and only yours. It's about creating a calm, intentional framework that tells your brain, I am in control. Even the smallest morning ritual, done consistently, rewires your mind for discipline, clarity, and self-respect. 3 months is just long enough for a morning routine to reshape your identity. The point is not to follow the perfect routine. The point is to create a predictable beginning to your day that eliminates chaos and restores agency. When you anchor your day in intention instead of reaction, everything changes. Your productivity, your mood, your decisions, your energy, and even the way you speak to yourself. Let's break down how this works. The first rule of winning the morning is simple. No phone for the first 60 minutes after you wake up. This is non-negotiable. Your mind wakes up in a highly programmable state. If you start your day with digital noise, your brain becomes reactive, scattered, and dependent on stimulation. But if you begin your day with silence, breath, and clarity, Your brain becomes focused, grounded, and disciplined. The second rule is physical movement. Something small, something simple, something that wakes your body up without stress. You don't need a full workout. You need activation. Movement increases blood flow, sharpens your mind, and signals to your body that today is a day for action, not stagnation. A stretch, a walk, a few minutes of light training, anything that reminds you that your body is a tool, not an obstacle. The third rule is written in tension. You must decide your top 3 priorities before the day begins. Not 10 tasks, not a long to-do list that overwhelms you. 3. This brings clarity. It cuts away distractions. It ensures you move with purpose instead of guessing, reacting, or drifting. When your actions align with your priorities, you make progress even on difficult days. The fourth rule is mental priming. This is the part where you set your mindset for the day. It can be gratitude, reflection, a line of affirmation, or a calm moment with your breath. The point is to step into the day with presence rather than panic. When you begin with grounded thinking, you respond better, work better, and feel better. These 4 rules, silence, movement, intention, and priming, are the foundation. They are simple by design. Complexity kills consistency. What matters is that you perform them every morning for the next 90 days until they become automatic. Because once your mornings shift, your life shifts. Some mornings you will feel tired. Some mornings you will feel unmotivated. Some mornings you will feel the pull to skip your routine and jump straight into the noise. But these are the exact mornings when your routine matters most. Anyone can win the easy morning. Transformation happens when you win the difficult ones. Discipline isn't built through perfect days. It's built through imperfect commitment. The beauty of morning rituals is that they create momentum, an invisible force that carries you through the rest of the day. When you start your day with discipline, the next decision becomes easier. When you begin with clarity, the next task becomes simpler. When you choose focus early, distractions lose their power later. You become less chaotic, less reactive, more intentional, more grounded. Momentum compounds. If you win your morning, you win your afternoon. If you win your afternoon, you win your evening. And if you string together enough winning days, you win your 90 days. That is how transformation works. Not through one massive moment, but through hundreds of small ones. Your morning routine also resets your identity. Every time you follow your routine, even when you don't feel like it, you send your brain a message: I am someone who shows up. This identity will become increasingly powerful as the 90 days progress. The new version of you is not created when the results appear. It is created when you repeatedly act like the person you want to become, especially in the first hour of your day. Now let's talk about what your morning routine should not include. It should not include stress. It should not include rushing. It should not include negativity, comparison, or digital overload. It should not involve jumping straight into work or allowing external demands to dictate your state of mind. It also shouldn't require excessive time, complicated rituals, or an unrealistic schedule. Consistency is the goal, not perfection, not performance. Your mornings should be a space for clarity, not chaos. A space for preparation, not pressure. A space where you step into your day as the leader of your life rather than a follower of your emotions. If you're wondering what a simple, effective morning routine looks like, here's a structure you can use for the next 90 days. Wake up, drink water, move lightly, sit in silence for a moment, breathe, write your top 3 priorities, read a small portion of something meaningful, and only then step into your day. Nothing dramatic, nothing overwhelming, just a series of choices that build strength, focus, and momentum. You don't have to become a morning person. You just have to protect the first part of your day. You have to choose yourself before the world chooses you. Because when you begin your day by building your mind, strengthening your body, and centering your energy, you become someone who doesn't lose the day to stress, noise, or distraction. This is how you win the next 90 days. Not with intensity, but with intention. Not with force, but with clarity. Not by doing more, but by choosing what matters. 3 months from now, your morning will be the reason everything feels different. Why you think better, work smarter, feel lighter, and move with confidence. It all begins here, with the decision you make every sunrise. Win the morning, win the 90 days, win yourself. Chapter 3. Cut what weakens you. Every transformation begins not only with what you add to your life, but also with what you remove. You cannot build strength on top of habits that drain you. You cannot build clarity on top of noise that distracts you. You cannot build discipline on top of patterns that sabotage you. If you want these next 90 days to redefine your life, you must learn the courage to cut the things that weaken you. This chapter is not about doing more. It is about subtracting, removing the behaviors, environments, routines, and relationships that make it impossible for you to stay consistent. People think change comes from motivation, but real change comes from elimination. You don't rise because you suddenly become stronger. You rise because you stop letting the things that weaken you stay in control. This is the part most people avoid. It feels easier to add new habits than to confront the ones that have been running your life for years. But nothing changes until you face the truth. You cannot become the next version of yourself while holding on to the habits of the old one. Think about your last few years. How many times did you set goals? Big goals, beautiful goals, and fall off track? Not because you weren't capable, but because something small kept pulling you back. A distraction, a toxic routine, a draining person, a pattern you never questioned, a comfort you kept choosing over growth. Your problem has never been lack of potential. It has been lack of subtraction. For the next 90 days, your mission is simple. Identify the top 3 things that steal your energy, your attention, and your discipline. Then cut them. Not reduce, not manage, cut. If something in your life consistently weakens you, it does not belong in this chapter of your growth. Let's break this down clearly. The first category of things you must cut is mental noise. This includes anything that pulls your mind into chaos before you've even begun your day. Overconsumption of news, endless scrolling, reactive thinking, comparison, overanalyzing, and emotional clutter. All of these weaken your focus. Your mind, like your body, has limited strength each day. If you give that strength away before you begin your real work, the day is already lost. Cutting mental noise means curating what you allow into your mind. It means unfollowing accounts that trigger insecurity, reducing the digital junk that clouds your thinking, limiting media that produces fear, anxiety, or outrage. Most importantly, it means creating mental boundaries. When you're building, you don't check your phone. When you're focusing, you don't let the world interrupt. The second category is environmental noise. Your environment shapes your habits more than motivation ever will. If your room, workspace, or digital space is filled with clutter, your mind will be too. If your environment encourages distraction, you will be distracted. If your environment encourages discipline, discipline becomes automatic. For the next 90 days, declutter aggressively. Remove objects that pull your attention. Create a workspace dedicated to focus. Clean your digital environment. Organize files. Delete unused apps. Remove notifications. Cut the physical and digital chaos that steals your clarity. A clean environment is not just aesthetic, it is strategic. It gives you space to think, breathe, and execute. The third category is emotional drains. These drains can come from people, obligations, worries, or unresolved conflicts. Emotional exhaustion is one of the biggest killers of discipline. You cannot build a strong 90 days if you're constantly managing emotional turbulence that isn't yours to carry. This doesn't mean cutting people you love. It means setting boundaries with the ones who drain you, removing unnecessary commitments, and being honest about what emotional weight is preventing you from moving forward. Sometimes the most powerful form of self-care is saying no. Sometimes the most transformative action is walking away. Sometimes growth requires distance. The fourth category is behaviors that sabotage you. These include late nights that destroy your mornings, procrastination disguised as planning, snacking when stressed, hitting snooze, wasting evenings on autopilot entertainment, or telling yourself, "I'll start tomorrow." These are the invisible habits that quietly erase your potential. They may seem small, but over 90 days they create massive damage. To cut sabotage, you need awareness. Track your patterns. Study yourself honestly. Pay attention to what actions leave you feeling weaker instead of stronger. Replace these behaviors with simple, healthier defaults. A bedtime routine, planned rest, intentional breaks, and outlets that reset your mind instead of draining it. The fifth category is comfort that keeps you stagnant. Comfort is one of the most deceptive traps of modern life. It feels harmless, it feels deserved, it feels like a break. But too much comfort becomes the cage that keeps you from reaching your next level. Comfort is not bad, but comfort chosen at the wrong time kills transformation. Cutting excess comfort means choosing challenge intentionally, choosing sweat over stagnation, choosing effort over ease, choosing discipline over impulse. Growth never comes from what feels good in the moment. It comes from what feels right in the long run. Now, cutting does not mean destroying everything that feels familiar. It means recognizing which parts of your current life are holding you back from the life you want to build. This distinction matters. You're not trying to punish yourself. You're trying to free yourself. To make this practical, here is a simple exercise for the next 90 days. Write down 3 columns. What weakens my mind? What weakens my environment? What weakens my discipline? Under each, list every habit, behavior, pattern, or influence that drains you. Be brutally honest. Do not soften the truth. Do not justify what you know is hurting you. When you finish, choose 3 items from the entire list, the 3 biggest drains. These are your cuts for the next 90 days. Cutting these 3 drains will do more for your life than adding 10 new habits. When you remove what weakens you, everything else becomes easier. Your mind becomes clearer, your energy becomes lighter, your discipline becomes stronger, and your transformation becomes inevitable. There will be resistance, of course. Your brain will fight you, old habits will whisper, comfort will tempt you, your emotions will negotiate. But remember, resistance is not a sign to stop. It is a sign you are cutting the right things. Growth always begins with discomfort. Spend these 90 days becoming someone who refuses to let weak routines run a strong life. Someone who refuses to let excuses dominate their potential. Someone who chooses clarity over chaos, discipline over distraction, and intentional living over autopilot surviving. This chapter is the turning point. Because once you cut what weakens you, everything that strengthens you finally has room to grow. Cut the noise, cut the drains, cut the patterns that steal your future, and watch how much lighter, stronger, and more focused you become. Chapter 4. The Power of Deep Focus. There is a reason why your life feels scattered, why you start things you never finish, why you feel busy but never truly move forward. It's not because you lack talent, it's not because you lack intelligence, it's because your attention has been broken into 1,000 invisible pieces, pulled in every direction by noise, notifications, obligations, and impulses. If you want the next 90 days to change everything, you must learn the skill that separates the people who grow from the people who stay stuck. Deep focus. Deep focus is not just about concentration, it is the ability to give your full mind, full attention, and full presence to one meaningful task at a time. This is rare in a world built to distract you. This is valuable in a world where everyone is multitasking themselves into mediocrity. And this is transformative in a life where you want real progress, not just motion. In the past, you may have thought that time was the problem, that if you had more hours, you would achieve more. But time has never been the limitation. Attention has. A fully focused hour produces more progress than a distracted day. A deep work session builds more skill, more clarity, and more confidence than hours of half effort. You don't need more time, you need fewer leaks. Think about the last time you were deeply focused, so immersed in your work that the world around you faded. Maybe it was during a project you loved, a moment of creativity, a problem you were determined to solve. In that state, you were powerful. You were present. You were unstoppable. Imagine building that state on purpose every single day for the next 90 days. Imagine what that would do to your goals, your mindset, your identity. That is what deep focus offers. But before you can learn deep focus, you must confront the truth. You have been conditioned to be distracted. Every notification trains your mind to react. Every open tab trains you to scatter your attention. Every habit of checking your phone trains your brain to crave stimulation instead of staying with a task. You have practiced distraction far more than you have practiced focus. No wonder focus feels difficult. No wonder discipline feels impossible. No wonder your days feel chaotic. The good news is that your mind is trainable. Focus is a muscle. And over the next 90 days, you will learn to strengthen it every single day. Let's break down what deep focus actually requires. The first requirement is intention. You cannot focus deeply on something you haven't defined. Every day before you begin your hour of transformation, choose the one task that matters most. Not the task that is easiest. Not the task that is urgent, but meaningless. But the task that moves your life forward. Your brain needs a clear target. Without a defined target, it will default to seeking stimulation instead of depth. The second requirement is environment. You cannot produce focused work in an environment built for distraction. For the next 90 days, your space matters. Your desk, your phone, your apps, your tabs, your surroundings, all of these shape your ability to focus. Design your environment so that focus is the default. Remove distractions before you begin. Close everything you don't need. Set your phone far from reach. When you create a space that supports focus, your mind follows. The third requirement is time protection. Deep focus cannot exist in scattered pockets. It needs a block of uninterrupted time, 30, 60, or 90 minutes dedicated solely to one task. During this block, you are unavailable to the world. No checking messages, no quick browsing, no switching tasks. Your focus becomes sacred. Your attention becomes a contract. The fourth requirement is mental discipline. Your brain will resist. You'll feel the urge to check your phone, to switch tasks, to seek stimulation. That's natural. It's the residue of years of shallow focus. But deep focus requires training your mind to stay, to resist the impulse to escape, to remain present with discomfort. Each time you resist the urge to switch tasks, you strengthen your focus muscle. Each time you sit through boredom, you build mental toughness. Deep focus is not supposed to feel easy. It is supposed to feel powerful. The fifth requirement is intentional breaks. Deep focus doesn't mean grinding endlessly. It means working deeply, resting lightly, and returning fully. After a deep work block, step away. Breathe, move, let your mind reset. This reset restores clarity and recharges your energy. Breaks are not a sign of weakness. They are part of the structure that makes deep focus sustainable. Now, let's talk about why deep focus is such a critical piece of your 90-day transformation. Because deep focus creates progress, and progress creates identity. When you work deeply, you create things you are proud of. You build skills faster. You finish what you start. You make measurable steps toward your goals. And when you begin producing results, real results, your belief in yourself grows. That belief becomes momentum, and momentum becomes transformation. Here's what most people don't realize. Distraction kills not only productivity, but also confidence. Every time you break focus, you reinforce the belief that you cannot stay with your commitments. Every time you give in to distraction, you weaken your identity. But every time you choose focus, you strengthen it. Deep focus is not just about getting things done. It's about proving to yourself that you can follow through. Let's make this practical. For the next 90 days, commit to one deep focus block every day. It can be 30 minutes at the start, then 45, then 60. The length is not as important as the consistency. During this block, you choose one meaningful task. You eliminate all distractions. You work with full presence. You stay with the task until the block ends. That's it. Simple, but life-changing. This daily deep focus block becomes the anchor of your growth. It becomes the space where you develop your craft, build your goals, train your discipline, and transform your life. And the more consistently you practice it, the more natural it becomes. There will be days when your focus feels sharp. There will be days when it feels impossible. But those are the days that build you. Those are the days that define your transformation. Not the easy days, the disciplined ones. Remember this. The world rewards those who can do what others struggle to do. And in a world addicted to distraction, the rarest and most valuable skill is deep focus. This skill increases your value. This skill accelerates your growth. This skill unlocks your potential. 3 months of deep focus will change who you are. It will reshape how you work, how you think, how you create, and how you move through the world. You will become someone calm under pressure, steady in chaos, powerful in your presence, and proud of your discipline. Deep focus is not about productivity. It is about becoming the version of you who honors your time, protects your attention, and builds your future deliberately. The next 90 days are your training ground. Choose your target, design your environment, guard your time, train your mind, and let deep focus become your advantage. Chapter 5. Build skills that pay you back. If you want your next 90 days to truly change everything, you must shift your focus from mere effort to meaningful growth. Not just working harder, but building skills that pay you back for the rest of your life. Hard work can make you tired. Skill makes you powerful. Hard work creates effort. Skill creates leverage. When you build the right skills, your value rises, your confidence rises, and your opportunities multiply. Most people never change because they spend their days completing tasks that don't build anything lasting. They check boxes. They stay busy. They feel productive. But at the end of the week, nothing in their life has elevated. Nothing in their identity has changed. Nothing in their future has improved. They're moving, but they're not growing. If you want your 90 days to be the turning point of your life, you must make one commitment. For the next 3 months, you will build at least one skill that upgrades who you are and how you show up in the world. A skill that increases your earning power, strengthens your discipline, or expands your opportunities. A skill that compounds over time. Skills are the real currency of transformation. Think about the most capable version of yourself, the one who is confident, sharp, disciplined, respected, and unstoppable. That version of you did not appear by accident. They were built through training, repetition, focus, and intentional practice. Becoming that person requires learning something that challenges your mind, forces your comfort zone to expand, and strengthens your ability to produce real results. So the first step in this chapter is clarity. Identify one skill that, if mastered, would make the next version of you significantly stronger. Not a hobby you might enjoy, not something trivial. A skill with weight, a skill with impact. It might be communication, writing, coding, design, leadership, fitness knowledge, public speaking, emotional control, negotiation, sales, critical thinking, or discipline itself. Choose something that elevates your mind and expands your future. Your 90 days need a target. Skill building gives you that target. Once you've chosen the skill, the next step is commitment. For these 90 days, you become a student again. Not the passive kind, but the powerful kind. The kind who learns actively, practices consistently, and applies quickly. The kind who doesn't wait for motivation, but shows up because growth is non-negotiable. Skill building is not glamorous. It's repetitive. It's uncomfortable. It's demanding. But it is the one thing that guarantees transformation. When you build a skill, you build identity. When you build identity, you build belief. And belief is the engine that drives long-term change. Let's break down the mechanics of building a skill in 90 days. The first component is deliberate practice. This means practicing intentionally, not randomly. Spending focused time performing the action that improves the skill. Not skimming, not daydreaming, not multitasking. If your skill is writing, you write every day. If it's speaking, you record yourself daily. If it's coding, you code consistently. Deliberate practice is uncomfortable because it exposes your weaknesses. But weaknesses are where growth begins. The second component is feedback. You cannot improve a skill in a vacuum. You must get feedback from reality, through results, through self-review, through mentors, through metrics. Feedback is not a judgment. It is a mirror. It shows you where you need to refine your technique, adjust your approach, or deepen your effort. Most people run from feedback because it bruises their ego. The skilled run toward feedback because it builds their excellence. The third component is iteration. Skill grows through cycles. You try, you fail, you adjust, you try again. 90 days is enough time to go through multiple cycles of improvement. Do not fear repetition. Repetition is the foundation of mastery. Repetition turns knowledge into instinct. It transforms what you know into who you are. The fourth component is focus blocks. You cannot build a skill by practicing in scattered bursts. You must dedicate uninterrupted time to training the skill, 30, 60, or 90 minutes a day. During these blocks, you strengthen the connection between your mind and your execution. You teach your brain to go deep, to learn fast, to adapt better. The fifth component is application. Skills grow when you use them in the real world. If you only practice privately, your growth stays theoretical. But when you apply your skill to projects, conversations, challenges, you accelerate your progress. Real-world use forces creativity, problem-solving, and confidence. The sixth component is identity alignment. You must think like someone who is mastering the skill. You must see yourself as a builder, a learner, a disciplined individual who is upgrading themselves daily. Skill building is not only about technique, it is about identity. If you see yourself as someone inconsistent, you will behave inconsistently. But if you see yourself as someone growing, you will grow. Most people quit skill building early because the beginning feels slow. The first 20 days are awkward. Things don't click. Progress feels invisible, but invisible progress is still progress. Skill building works like compounding interest. The returns are small at first, then suddenly exponential. If you stay long enough, the payoff becomes undeniable. This is why 90 days is the perfect window. Long enough for progress to reveal itself. Short enough to keep you focused. Structured enough to build momentum. Flexible enough to adapt. When you commit to mastering a skill in 90 days, you reshape the way you work, learn, and think. Now let's talk about energy. Skill building is energizing, not because it's easy, but because it gives you purpose. When you grow, you feel alive. When you learn, you feel capable. When you improve, you feel proud. Every day you master a small part of the skill, you add fuel to your momentum. That momentum becomes your identity, and identity creates long-term transformation. For the next 90 days, your skill-building routine can look like this. 15 minutes of theory, learning the concepts. 30 minutes of practice, applying the concepts. 15 minutes of reflection, evaluating what worked, what didn't, and what to adjust. Just 1 hour. Just 4% of your day, but over 90 days, that equals 90 hours of targeted, powerful, structured growth. 90 hours is enough to become noticeably better, enough to become respected, enough to create opportunities, enough to change your future direction completely. Here's the truth. People don't rise because they are gifted. They rise because they are skilled, and skill is built, not inherited. Your 90 days will not reward perfection. They will reward commitment. They will reward consistency. They will reward the person who keeps showing up even when progress is slow, even when effort feels heavy, even when doubt appears. Because doubt always appears. Doubt is part of the process, but doubt cannot stop someone who trains. 3 months from now, you will not be the same person. You will see the world differently. You will move differently. You will think differently. Because skill changes the way you see yourself and the way the world sees you. Build the skill. Build the identity. Build the future. Your 90 days start now. Chapter 6. Strengthen your mindset before you fix your life. Every life problem begins as a mindset problem. Before your habits fall apart, your thinking does. Before your discipline slips, your beliefs weaken. Before your environment becomes chaotic, your internal world becomes louder than your intentions. This is why so many people try to change their lives, but stay stuck. They keep fixing the symptoms while avoiding the source. If you want the next 90 days to rewrite everything, you must strengthen your mindset before you try to fix your life. Your mindset is the operating system behind every decision you make. When your mindset is strong, even hard tasks feel possible. When your mindset is weak, even simple tasks feel heavy. You've experienced this before. Days when nothing went right because your thoughts weren't right. Days when one setback destroyed your energy. Days when you questioned your abilities, doubted your progress, or convinced yourself that growth was out of reach. None of that came from reality. It came from mindset. Here is the truth. You cannot build a powerful life with a fragile mind. You cannot sustain discipline with a mindset shaped by fear, doubt, and emotional reactivity. And you cannot unlock your potential if you are still being controlled by beliefs you didn't choose. Your mindset must be strengthened, upgraded, and reinforced daily, just like any other skill. The mind is not something you fix once. It is something you train, something you prepare, something you fortify. The next 90 days will force you to grow, to stretch, to push beyond your comfort zone. For that, your mindset must be ready. Let's break down the foundation of a strong mindset. The first component is ownership. Your mindset will not change until you stop blaming circumstances, people, timing, or luck. Ownership does not mean everything that happened to you is your fault. It means the responsibility for your next chapter is yours alone. Ownership takes your power back. When you own your choices, you own your results. When you own your mistakes, you own your transformation. A strong mindset begins with the courage to say, "My life is my responsibility from this moment forward." The second component is emotional regulation. Most people are ruled by their emotions. When they're motivated, they act. When they're tired, they quit. When they're scared, they freeze. When they're overwhelmed, they avoid. This is a weak foundation. Your mindset cannot be built on feelings because feelings are unpredictable. A strong mindset learns to feel emotion without obeying it, to breathe through stress, to pause before reacting, to respond based on intention, not impulse. When you regulate your emotions, you reclaim your clarity. The third component is mental reframing. Your thoughts shape your reality, not because of magic, but because your actions follow the meaning you assign to events. A setback becomes either a reason to quit or a reason to learn. A challenge becomes either resistance or training. A failure becomes either shame or feedback. Your life moves in the direction of your interpretations. Strengthen your interpretations, and your life strengthens with them. The fourth component is resilience. A powerful mindset is not one that never breaks. It is one that rebuilds quickly. Life will interrupt you in the next 90 days. Something will go wrong. Something will distract you. Something will test your discipline. Most people stop when this happens, but those who transform are the ones who reset quickly. They don't spiral. They don't sabotage. They breathe, recenter, and return. Resilience is your ability to restart without losing momentum. The fifth component is identity alignment. You act according to who you believe you are. If you believe you're inconsistent, you will behave inconsistently. If you believe you're undisciplined, you will avoid discipline. But if you begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, your actions shift. Mindset strengthening is identity strengthening. The next 90 days require you to speak to yourself like someone becoming powerful, not someone staying stuck. Now let's make this practical. For the next 90 days, your mornings begin with a mindset reset. Before you act, you align. This means grounding your thoughts, remembering your intention, and choosing who you want to be before the world influences you. Many people wake up into survival mode. You will wake up into leadership mode, leading your mind instead of letting it lead you. Start each morning with a 3-part mental check-in. 1. What am I thinking right now? You identify the thought running your mind. Awareness is the first step to control. 2. Is this thought helping me or weakening me? Most thoughts don't need to be believed. They just need to be examined. 3. What is the stronger thought I choose instead? You redirect your mind toward clarity, not chaos. This daily exercise, though simple, will completely shift the direction of your life. When you discipline your thoughts, you discipline your actions. When you discipline your actions, you discipline your results. Another powerful technique for strengthening your mindset is pattern interruption. Whenever your mind falls into old loops, procrastination, fear, self-doubt, excuses, you interrupt the pattern with a physical action. Stand up, breathe deeply, ground your feet, or speak a command out loud like, "Stop, refocus." This interruption breaks the automatic cycle and gives you space to choose differently. You must also practice mental subtraction. Most people try to improve their lives by adding more tasks, more pressure, more expectations. But your mindset strengthens fastest when you remove the thoughts that weaken you. Remove catastrophic thinking. Remove all or nothing thinking. Remove narratives that tell you you're behind. Remove the habit of judging yourself before you even try. When you subtract mental noise, clarity appears. Your mindset also grows through exposure to discomfort. Growth does not come from convenience. It comes from stretching yourself. Each time you do something difficult, waking up early, pushing through a hard workout, having a tough conversation, practicing when you don't feel like it, You prove to your mind that you're capable of more than your excuses. This builds grit, and grit is the kind of strength that transforms a 90-day commitment into a lifelong shift. One of the most important mindset practices in this chapter is reflection. At the end of each day, pause and ask yourself, what did I do today that made me stronger? Where did my mindset slip? What can I adjust tomorrow? Reflection turns experience into wisdom. Without reflection, you repeat your mistakes. With reflection, you refine them. The more you strengthen your mindset, the less effort everything else requires. With a weak mindset, life feels heavy. With a strong mindset, life feels intentional. With a weak mindset, obstacles stop you. With a strong mindset, obstacles sharpen you. These 90 days are not only about building habits, they're about building the mental strength to maintain those habits long after motivation fades. In the next chapter, you will learn how to stay calm under pressure, because emotional control is the companion skill to mindset strength. But for now, remember this: your life cannot outgrow your mindset. Strengthen the mind, and the life will follow. These next 90 days are not about becoming perfect. They're about becoming mentally unshakable. Someone who chooses clarity over confusion, purpose over impulse, and growth over comfort. Strengthen your mindset, and everything else will fall into place. Chapter 7. Face the hard things you've avoided. Every person who transforms their life eventually reaches the same moment, the moment when they must confront the hard things they've been avoiding. The uncomfortable conversations, the unresolved conflicts, the financial mess they keep postponing, the habits they pretend aren't a problem, the fears they never address, the truth they don't want to face. Avoidance is the silent thief of potential. It steals years quietly, softly, without resistance. And if you want the next 90 days to change everything, you must stop running from the things that weaken you and start facing them with purpose. Avoiding hard things doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're human. The brain is designed to move toward comfort and run from discomfort, but comfort is a liar. Comfort promises relief, then delivers regret. Every time you avoid something important, you pay the price twice. Once in the anxiety of postponing it, and again in the consequences of not doing it. Avoidance keeps you trapped in cycles you already know too well. Facing the hard things is not just an action, it is an identity shift. It is you saying, I will no longer build my life around fear. It is you refusing to let procrastination dictate your future. It is you choosing strength over emotional convenience. This is the point where transformation stops being passive and becomes powerful. The next 90 days demand that you stop negotiating with avoidance. You have goals, you have dreams, you have a future waiting for you. But none of it can unfold until you confront what's been holding you back. Let's break down the truth. The things you avoid are the exact things that would change your life the fastest. The conversation you're afraid to have would bring relief. The documents you're avoiding would bring order. The training you keep postponing would bring confidence. The habit you refuse to break would bring energy. The problem you're hiding from would bring clarity. Your next level is always behind the door you don't want to open. Facing hard things doesn't mean you must be fearless. It means you act even when fear is present. It means you show up with courage even when discomfort appears. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the refusal to obey it. To begin this chapter, ask yourself a simple question. What have I been avoiding that I know I must deal with? Don't overthink. Your mind already knows. The answer comes quickly because it has been sitting in your chest for months, maybe years. That answer is your beginning. Now let's break down the process of facing hard things in a way that is structured, achievable, and transformative. The first step is naming the discomfort. You cannot face what you refuse to identify. Write down the top 3 things you've been avoiding. Be honest. Be specific. The brain tries to blur problems so they feel less threatening. You must bring them into clarity. Clarity gives you power. The second step is breaking the emotional charge. Most avoided tasks are not actually difficult. They are emotionally loaded. You're not avoiding the task. You're avoiding the feeling attached to the task. The fear of conflict, the fear of embarrassment, the fear of discomfort. When you separate the task from the emotion, the task becomes manageable. You weaken avoidance by acknowledging emotion instead of running from it. The third step is simplifying the action. Avoidance thrives on overwhelm. The bigger a task feels, the more your mind resists it. Break the hard thing into small, specific actions: a phone call, a message, a document, a conversation, a decision. When you shrink the task, you shrink the fear. The fourth step is creating a deadline. Hard things don't happen without urgency. The next 90 days require commitment, and commitment requires deadlines. Set a precise date and time for each hard task. Put it on your calendar. Treat it like an appointment with your future self. The fifth step is taking the first uncomfortable step immediately. Not tomorrow, not when things calm down. Today. The longer you wait, the heavier the task becomes. Taking action quickly disrupts the cycle of avoidance. Action is the antidote to fear. The sixth step is celebrating the shift, not the outcome. The victory is not finishing the task. It's becoming the kind of person who no longer avoids it. Every hard thing you face makes you stronger, more grounded, more disciplined. It rewires your identity. You stop being someone who delays life and become someone who leads it. Facing hard things creates momentum like nothing else. When you confront the tasks that once intimidated you, your mind expands, your confidence grows, your self-respect skyrockets, avoidance shrinks. You begin to trust yourself again. That trust becomes the foundation of your transformation. Let's talk about the mindset behind avoidance. Avoidance is a short-term coping mechanism that creates long-term damage. It offers temporary comfort but guarantees future stress. When you avoid something, your mind becomes restless. You feel tension, guilt, anxiety, and pressure. You carry the weight of what you're avoiding into every day. That weight drains your energy and destroys your focus. No wonder your progress feels slow. Your mind is carrying unspoken burdens. But when you face hard things, the opposite happens. You release the weight. You reclaim your energy. You restore mental clarity. Hard tasks rarely take as long as we fear. What takes long is the emotional buildup, the internal negotiation, the days spent postponing. Facing the task itself is almost always easier than avoiding it. Avoidance also weakens identity. Every time you avoid something important, you tell yourself, "I can't handle this." Every time you confront something important, you tell yourself, "I am capable." Identity is built on self-messages repeated through action. Facing hard things builds identity faster than any other habit. Your 90-day transformation depends on this shift. Because every goal you want, discipline, health, financial stability, confidence, focus, requires you to face some version of discomfort. Growth lives on the other side of discomfort. You cannot avoid discomfort and expect transformation. Here's how you apply this chapter starting now. Today, yes, today, choose the one hard thing that has been sitting in your mind the longest. The one thing that creates a quiet tension every time you think about it. The one thing you always push to tomorrow. Do it today. Send the message. Make the call. Clean the space. Apologize. Tell the truth. Set the boundary. End the habit. Begin the training. That single action will create a shockwave through your identity. It will tell your brain that you are no longer the person who hides. You are the person who acts. The next 90 days will contain moments of resistance. Your mind will try to convince you to delay again, but you will not go back. You will not let avoidance steal your progress. You will not surrender your growth to fear. Instead, you will do what strong people do. You will face the hard things. You will do them early. You will do them clearly. You will do them without drama. You will do them because your future demands it. And when you've done enough hard things, something incredible happens. You become unshakable. You cannot be intimidated by the world because you do not hide from yourself. You walk differently. You think differently. You act differently. You are lighter, clearer, and stronger. Facing the hard things you've avoided is not just a chapter. It is a transformation inside your transformation. It is the moment your new life begins. Chapter 8. Design an environment that wins for you. Discipline becomes 10 times easier when your environment supports your goals, and 10 times harder when your environment fights against them. Most people blame themselves for lack of focus, lack of consistency, or lack of motivation, but the truth is much simpler. Your environment is training you even when you don't notice it. It shapes your habits, your energy, your clarity, and even your identity. You rise or fall to the level of the environment you live in. If your room is chaotic, your mind will be chaotic. If your digital space is cluttered, your attention will be scattered. If your surroundings encourage comfort, you will choose comfort. If your environment is filled with distractions, you will live distracted. This is not a personality problem, it's a design problem. You do not need more willpower to transform your next 90 days. You need an environment that reduces friction, removes temptation, and makes discipline feel natural. When your space is aligned with your goals, your habits become almost automatic. This chapter will show you how to design an environment that wins for you, not against you. Let's begin with the most important truth. Environment beats motivation. Motivation fades. Discipline takes effort. But environment is always active. It influences you without requiring your permission. If your environment encourages growth, you will grow even on low-energy days. If it encourages distraction, you will fall into distraction even when you want to focus. That's why the most successful people in the world obsess over their environment. They remove what weakens them. They organize what strengthens them. They design their surroundings to protect their time, attention, and energy. To change your life in 90 days, you must do the same. Let's break this into 4 layers of environment design: physical, digital, social, and mental. When all 4 are aligned, transformation becomes inevitable. 1. Physical environment. Your space shapes your state. Your physical surroundings are the foundation of your habits. When your space is clean, organized, and intentional, it becomes easier to think clearly and act decisively. Start with your room. Your room is a reflection of your mind and a trainer of it. If your bed is messy, if your desk is cluttered, if your floor is covered with things you ignore, you're not just looking at a mess, you're looking at friction. Every piece of clutter is a tiny decision, a micro-distraction, a reminder of something undone. This drains mental bandwidth and weakens discipline. Your goal is to eliminate friction. Clean your room. Organize your belongings. Get rid of items you don't use. Keep your desk minimalistic. 1 notebook, 1 pen, 1 laptop. Design your space so that when you sit down to work, your mind is already halfway into a focused state. You're not creating a perfect aesthetic. You're creating a clear path for your mind. Next, set up a dedicated workspace, even if it's small. A place where you train your skill, complete your deep focus sessions, or work on your goals. When your brain associates a specific place with productivity, it becomes easier to enter that mindset automatically. Your environment should not fight your identity. It should reinforce it. 2. Digital environment. The silent destroyer of your attention. Your digital world is part of your environment, and it's often the most dangerous part. Unlike a messy desk, digital clutter is invisible. Notifications, endless tabs, Social media feeds, algorithm traps, they pull your mind in every direction. To transform in 90 days, you must take control of your digital space. Start by reorganizing your phone. Remove apps you don't use. Move distracting apps off your home screen. Turn off notifications for anything that isn't urgent or meaningful. If your phone is constantly pulling your attention, it owns you. Your phone must become a tool, not a master. Declutter your laptop. Close tabs you've abandoned. Delete unnecessary files. Simplify your workspace. Create folders for clarity. When your digital environment is clean, your mind becomes lighter. Create focus mode rituals. Phone out of reach. Laptop in full screen mode. Tabs limited to only what you need. Notifications silenced. Your mind will thank you. Your work will improve. Your stress will drop. Your focus will sharpen. Deep transformation requires deep attention, and deep attention requires digital simplicity. 3. Social environment. People influence you. More than you realize, your environment isn't just physical or digital, it's also human. The people around you shape your behavior, your standards, and your identity. For the next 90 days, you must be intentional about the energy you allow into your life. Some people support your growth. Some people sabotage it. Some inspire you. Some drain you. Some push you forward. Some hold you back without even meaning to. This doesn't mean you cut everyone out. It means you adjust access. People who discourage growth get less of your time. People who support your goals get more. People who drain your energy get boundaries. People who inspire you get proximity. Surround yourself with people who talk about goals, not gossip. Progress, not drama. Solutions, not problems. If you don't have these people yet, you can create this environment through content, books, videos, audiobooks, mentors online. Even virtual proximity can influence your identity. You are always becoming more like your environment. Choose wisely. 4. Mental environment, the inner space. You live in your internal environment is the most powerful one. Your thoughts, beliefs, narratives, and self-talk. If your mental environment is chaotic, your actions will be chaotic. If your mind is filled with negativity, fear, or self-criticism, your progress will always feel heavy. To transform your mental environment, build a daily mindset reset. Morning silence, breathing, reflection, clear intentions, gratitude. 3 priorities. You must create a mental space that supports clarity, not confusion, that nurtures discipline, not doubt, that encourages growth, not avoidance. Your mental environment becomes the filter through which you experience your life. Strengthen it, and everything else becomes easier. Why environment design changes everything? Because environment removes decision fatigue. Because environment reduces friction. Because environment shapes identity. Because environment determines behavior. Because environment turns discipline into a default, not a struggle. When your environment is aligned with your goals, you no longer fight against yourself. You no longer waste energy resisting distractions. You no longer rely solely on willpower. You create a system where strong choices become the natural choices. You stop battling your surroundings and start being supported by them. A simple 90-day environment reset. To make this chapter actionable, here's your environment reset for the next 90 days. Day 1 to 3, physical declutter. Day 4 to 7, digital cleanup. Day 8 to 14, social boundaries. Day 15 to 21, mental reset rituals. Day 22 and 90, maintain, refine, optimize. This cycle will transform how you think, how you work, and how you show up. When you master your environment, you master your momentum. Identity through environment. Your environment sends signals to your brain about who you are. A clean desk says, I'm someone who is focused. A phone with notifications off says, I'm someone who protects my attention. A room free of clutter says, I am someone who respects my space. A dedicated corner for deep work says, I am someone who builds. A morning ritual says, I am someone who leads my life. Identity is built through cues, and environment is the strongest cue you have. Design your environment intentionally, and your identity will follow. Your next 90 days. Begin here. These next 90 days will not reward perfection. They will reward structure. They will reward clarity. They will reward intentional design. When you set up your life to support your goals, growth becomes easier than staying the same. Design your environment. Remove friction. Strengthen your focus. Protect your mind. Shape your identity. Because when your environment wins, you win. Chapter 9. Track, review, and adjust. Weekly. One of the biggest reasons people fail to change their lives is simple. They don't track anything. They don't measure their progress. They don't review their choices. They don't adjust their strategy. They hope things are improving, but they never check. And in the absence of clarity, guesswork takes over. Guesswork leads to inconsistency. Inconsistency leads to disappointment, and disappointment leads to giving up. If you want your next 90 days to transform your life, you must stop guessing and start tracking. What gets measured improves. What gets reviewed accelerates. What gets adjusted becomes unstoppable. A 90-day transformation is not a straight line. It is a cycle of learning, refining, and rising. Tracking is the process. Review is the awareness. Adjustment is the evolution. You cannot improve what you refuse to look at. Avoiding the truth doesn't protect you, it weakens you. But when you track your actions honestly, you take control. You turn every day into data. You turn every week into insight. You turn every mistake into information. Tracking doesn't judge you, it teaches you. The goal of this chapter is simple. Make tracking and weekly review your new superpower. Because if you commit to this practice for 90 days, your growth will be undeniable. Let's begin with the truth. Your memory is unreliable. It forgets wins. It exaggerates failures. It distorts progress. You cannot rely on feelings to judge your growth. They lie. Feelings fluctuate too quickly. Your progress will often feel invisible until the data reveals it. Tracking makes your progress visible. When you track your habits, your focus, your energy, and your output, you create a mirror for your life. A mirror that shows you exactly where you're strong, where you're slipping, and where you must adjust. That awareness is the key to transformation. The 3 pillars of the tracking system. For the next 90 days, you will track 3 categories: actions, energy, results. Actions measure what you did. Energy measures how you felt. Results measure what improved. This triad gives you a complete picture: behavior, state, and outcome. Most people only look at outcomes, and that's why they quit. They don't see immediate results, so they assume nothing is working. But results are always the last thing to appear. Actions and energy change first. You must track the early signals of progress before the big changes arrive. Let's break down each pillar. 1. Track actions, your daily evidence. Every day, track the following. Did you do your 1 hour of focused work? Did you follow your morning routine? Did you stay consistent with your key habit? Did you cut your 3 biggest drains? Did you practice your chosen skill? Use simple checkboxes, not paragraphs, not essays. Tracking must be effortless, or you won't do it. Your actions are the backbone of your transformation. Even if your results aren't visible yet, your actions are proof that you're building momentum. 2. Track energy, your internal data. Your energy tells you what your body and mind are experiencing. Track it daily on a scale of 1 to 5. 1. Exhausted. 3. Neutral. 5. Strong energy tracking reveals patterns most people miss. Maybe your energy drops on days when you stay up late. Maybe it rises after exercise. Maybe it crashes after certain foods, tasks, or people. Energy is information, and once you see patterns, you can adjust intelligently. 3. Track results. Your weekly progress. Results should be reviewed weekly, not daily. Daily results create anxiety. Weekly results create clarity. Every 7 days, review what improved, what stayed the same, what slipped, what surprised you. Your weekly review is where understanding becomes power. The power of the weekly reset. The weekly reset is the ritual that will elevate your next 90 days more than anything else. It is your moment to pause the chaos, step back, and look at your life with clarity. Most people rush through their weeks without reflecting. They keep repeating the same mistakes because they never stop long enough to examine them. Your weekly reset stops the autopilot. It turns your life into a conscious creation. Here's your weekly reset ritual. Step 1. Review your actions. Look at your check boxes. Count your wins. Count your misses. This is not about perfection. It's about awareness. If you hit even 60-70% of your actions, you are making progress. Consistency is not doing everything every day. Consistency is doing the right things more often than not. Step 2. Review your energy, study your patterns. Which days felt heavy? Which days felt light? What influenced those shifts? Awareness helps you optimize your week. You can adjust your sleep, your routines, your workload, and your boundaries based on what your energy reveals. Step 3. Review your results. Look for small wins, a clearer mind, a more organized space, a completed task, a stronger skill, a better mood. Progress isn't always dramatic. It's often subtle until it becomes undeniable. Step 4. Identify one thing to improve. Next week, not 10 things. 1. Improvement thrives on focus. If you fix one thing every week, that's 12 improvements in 90 days. That is massive. Step 5. Reset your space. Clean your desk. Organize your tools. Prepare your environment. A fresh environment signals a fresh week. This small ritual boosts clarity more than you think. Step 6. Rewrite your priorities. Choose your top 3 goals for the next week. This direction prevents drift. With priorities set, your actions become intentional. Step 7. Recommit. Say it out loud. I'm not here to repeat last week. I'm here to rise. Recommitment is identity training. Every week, you strengthen the belief that you are someone who shows up. Why tracking creates transformation? Because tracking destroys the illusion of failure. Because tracking reveals your real patterns. Because tracking increases your awareness. Because tracking eliminates emotional guessing. Because tracking shows progress long before the mirror does. Because tracking keeps you honest. Because tracking gives you power. Most importantly, tracking builds trust with yourself. Every box you check is evidence that you are becoming the person you said you would be. Self-trust is the foundation of confidence. Confidence is the foundation of discipline. And discipline is the foundation of transformation. The identity shift that comes from tracking. Tracking doesn't just change behavior, it changes identity. When you track your day, you become someone who pays attention. When you review your week, you become someone who learns. When you adjust your strategy, you become someone who evolves. Your 90-day transformation becomes a personal evolution instead of random effort. What happens after 90 days of tracking? By the end of this journey, you will know your patterns intimately. You will understand what drains you, what strengthens you, what motivates you, what distracts you, what energizes you, and what slows you down. You will design your life based on data, not feelings. You will operate from clarity, not confusion. You will no longer fear setbacks because you will know how to analyze them. You will no longer fear failure because you will know how to adjust. You will no longer fear slow progress because you will see it building in real time. Tracking removes the fear of the unknown. You cannot be lost when you know where you stand. Your transformation depends on this ritual. The next 90 days are not about perfection. They are about awareness, refinement, and elevation. If you do nothing else but track, review, and adjust weekly, you will transform, because you will be living consciously, intentionally, and powerfully. The untracked life repeats. The tracked life evolves. Track your actions, review your patterns, adjust your path. This is how you rise. Chapter 10. Identity shift. Become the person who doesn't quit. Every transformation eventually arrives at the same threshold, the moment when habits aren't enough, systems aren't enough, discipline isn't enough. Because all of those tools, powerful as they are, depend on something deeper. Identity. How you see yourself. Who you believe you are. What standard you expect yourself to maintain. Without an identity shift, the old version of you will always pull you back. With an identity shift, the old version of you loses all power. This final chapter is not about creating a new habit or adding another routine. It's about becoming someone else, someone stronger, clearer, more capable, and more committed than you've ever been. Someone you would have admired years ago. Someone you can trust. Someone who doesn't quit. For 90 days, you've been building discipline, clarity, courage, focus, structure, and resilience. But the most important transformation is happening inside you. You are shifting from a person who hopes to change into a person who expects to win. Identity is the root of all behavior. You cannot act consistently in a way that contradicts who you believe you are. That's why motivation fails. That's why habits fade. But identity, the story you tell yourself about yourself, sticks. If your identity says, "I'm inconsistent," you'll quit. If your identity says, "I'm not disciplined," you'll avoid effort. If your identity says, "I always fall off," you'll repeat old patterns. But if your identity shifts to, "I am someone who follows through," everything changes. Everything. You act differently. You think differently. You choose differently. You show up differently. Identity creates gravity, pulling your behavior into alignment with your self-perception. And for the next 90 days, your biggest mission is to build an identity that matches your highest potential. Let's break down the pillars of an unstoppable identity. 1. Identity is built through repetition, not intention. You don't become disciplined because you want to be. You become disciplined because you repeatedly act like a disciplined person. Every time you choose consistency over excuses, your identity strengthens. Every time you show up on a hard day, your identity evolves. Every time you restart after slipping, your identity rewrites itself. Identity is not a dream. It is a pattern. Identity is not a wish. It is a decision repeated. Identity is not who you were. It is who you are practicing to become. For 90 days, you have been practicing a stronger version of yourself. Now, that version is ready to take over. 2. Identity requires letting go of the old you. There is a version of you that must be left behind, the one who procrastinated, avoided, hesitated, made excuses, feared failure, and settled for less. This version of you was familiar, but it wasn't powerful. It got you this far, but it cannot take you further. The old you was built for survival. The new you is built for elevation. Letting go doesn't require shame. It requires recognition. It requires honesty. It requires acceptance that you are done repeating that identity. You are done replaying that story. You are done living at half strength. Your life changes when you finally say, "I'm no longer available for the person I used to be." 3. Identity thrives on standards. A strong identity doesn't depend on motivation. It depends on standards. Standards are rules you live by. expectations you refuse to negotiate, lines you do not cross. For example, I don't skip my hour. I keep my space clean. I finish what I start. I don't engage in distraction. I don't abandon myself when things get hard. These are not goals. These are standards. Goals create direction, standards create identity, and identity creates transformation. For Nata, identity requires proof. If you want to become someone who doesn't quit, you need evidence, actions that prove to your brain that you are that person. Proof builds belief. Belief strengthens identity. Identity drives behavior. Look back at your 90 days. You have shown up. You have focused deeply. You have removed distractions. You have improved your environment. You have trained your discipline. You have learned new skills. You have faced difficult things. You have tracked your progress. That is proof. Real proof. Identity-shifting proof. Your mind cannot argue with evidence. 5 identity forms through language. The way you talk to yourself determines your trajectory. Most people speak to themselves like an enemy. Critical, harsh, doubtful, dismissive. That language weakens identity, weakens confidence, and weakens follow-through. Your identity requires a new vocabulary. I follow through. I don't negotiate with weakness. I do difficult things. I honor my commitments. I choose growth over comfort. These are not affirmations. They are identity statements, and identity statements guide behavior. 6. Identity is reinforced by small wins, not big moments. People think transformation comes from dramatic successes. It doesn't. It comes from micro wins repeated daily, the tiny decisions you make when no one is watching. Waking up on time, finishing a session you didn't want to start, choosing focus over distraction, choosing honesty over avoidance, choosing discipline over comfort. These small wins are bricks. Over 90 days, you've been building a new foundation, one brick at a time. Now the structure is real. The identity is real. You have become someone stronger than your excuses. 7. Identity requires self-respect. You cannot sustain transformation without respecting yourself. Self-respect grows when your actions align with your values. When you do what you say you'll do, when you refuse to betray yourself for momentary comfort. These 90 days have taught you something powerful. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you rise. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you fall. A person who doesn't quit is a person who respects themselves enough to keep going. 8. Identity emerges when you show up on the hard days. Anybody can act disciplined when they feel good. Anybody can show up when they're motivated. Anybody can commit when life is calm. But the person who doesn't quit, the identity you are becoming, is built on the days that test you, the days that push you, the days when excuses feel loud and energy feels low. Showing up on those days is what separates the old you from the new you. Hard days are not interruptions. They are opportunities. They are where identity is sculpted. A strong identity is not about consistency without struggle. It's about consistency despite struggle. 9. Identity is a choice. You renew daily. You don't become a new person once. You choose to be that person again and again. Every morning you recommit. Every decision you reinforce. Every action you embody. Identity is not static. It is alive, and you are shaping it with every choice. For these 90 days, you have been choosing strength. Now that strength is choosing you back. 10. Identity determines your future. Outcome follows identity, not the other way around. When you embody the identity of someone who doesn't quit, your life expands in ways you once thought impossible. Confidence rises, discipline stabilizes, opportunities open, momentum accelerates. You stop sabotaging yourself. You stop abandoning your progress. You stop shrinking to fit your old patterns. You become the person you once needed. Someone you trust, someone you respect, someone you follow. This identity will carry you far beyond these 90 days. Your transformation has reached its turning point. You built habits, you built discipline, you built clarity, you built resilience, you built courage, you built structure, but most importantly, you built a new you. The 90 days aren't the finish line. They're the foundation of your future. Continue becoming the person who doesn't quit. Continue choosing the identity that elevates your life. Continue embodying the standards that strengthened you. The world changes when you change, and you have changed. This chapter isn't the end. It's the beginning of a new identity, the strongest one you've ever worn. The next 90 days begin with you. 90 days ago, you began this journey with a simple idea that a focused, intentional season of your life could change everything. And now, standing at the end of this audiobook, you know that idea wasn't just inspiring, it was true. You've proven to yourself that transformation is not a mystery. It's not luck. It's not something reserved for the gifted or the fortunate. Transformation is a choice. One decision repeated over time, 1 hour protected every day, one standard raised again and again, until the person you're becoming replaces the person you once were. You've learned how to win your mornings, protect your focus, remove what weakens you, and build what strengthens you. You've learned how to engineer your environment, regulate your emotions, and train your mind. You've learned how to track your actions, review your patterns, and adjust your path. And you've learned the truth at the center of this entire journey. The most powerful change comes from the identity you choose to embody. You are not the same person who started this. Your mindset is sharper, your discipline is stronger, your awareness is deeper, your confidence is real. You've faced hard things you used to avoid. You've mastered small wins you once overlooked. You've lived intentionally instead of drifting mindlessly. And even if these 90 days weren't perfect, even if you stumbled, missed days, or struggled, you kept going. And that persistence is the greatest victory of all. Perfection was never required. Consistency was, and you showed up with more consistency, more courage, and more clarity than you ever thought you could. This journey has always been about becoming someone you're proud of, someone you trust, someone you respect, someone who no longer gives their potential away to distraction, fear, or comfort, someone who leads their life instead of reacting to it. The end of this audiobook does not mean the end of your transformation. It means the beginning of a new chapter, one where your identity is strong enough to carry you forward. You now understand that every 90 days offers another opportunity to rise, another chance to refine, reset, and rebuild, another season to become more aligned with the person you want to be. Imagine what your life could look like if you repeated this process again. Another 90 days of clarity, another 90 days of deep focus, another 90 days of skill building, another 90 days of momentum, another 90 days of identity strengthening. Where would you be 6 months from now, a year from now, 3 years from now? Transformation compounds, identity compounds, discipline compounds, and you now have the blueprint for creating any version of your future you desire. This audiobook wasn't about giving you motivation. It was about giving you a system, a structure, a mindset, a way of living that makes growth inevitable. You now know something most people never discover. Your life does not change in the future. Your life changes in the hour you commit to today. It changes the moment you decide to protect your attention. It changes the moment you choose clarity over chaos. It changes the moment you take responsibility instead of waiting for the circumstances. It changes the moment you act even when you don't feel ready. Everything changes the moment you do. So as you step out of these 90 days and into the next chapter of your life, take a moment to acknowledge your progress. Celebrate your growth. Honor the work you've done. You didn't just build habits, you built a foundation. You didn't just develop discipline, you developed identity. You didn't just change your actions, you changed who you are. And now, the real question becomes, what will you do with this version of yourself? Will you settle back into old patterns? Or will you continue rising into your potential? Will you let life pull you off track? Or will you lead your life with the clarity you've earned? Will you go back to who you were? Or will you keep becoming who you're meant to be? Only you can answer that. But the fact that you made it here, to the end of this journey, tells me something undeniable. You are ready for more. Ready for discipline. Ready for growth. Ready for power. Ready for a life built with intention, not accident. Your next 90 days begin the moment you decide they will. So take a breath, stand tall, carry forward everything you've learned, and let the strongest version of you lead from here. The future is yours. Go create it.